All right, we're gonna get this going. Let's start with introductions and announcements. So we'll go around Ryan, Nick, King Street, he, him.
Tom Carroll, South Union.
Eric Broderick, Ward 8 City Councilor, College Street.
Brett Yates, he, him. I live in Ward 6 on Hoover Street.
Michelle Segalchik, she, her, also live in Ward 6.
Come back. Okay. Adam Franz, he, him. I live on College Street as well.
Hello, my name is Krista. I live in Ward 8 and I go she, her.
Diana Eberhardt, she, her, on South Union Street.
I'm Jonathan Chapasoko, he, him, but they is fine too. And I live in Ward 1. I'm one of the presenters tonight.
Hannah King, King Street, Ward 8, she, her.
Sweet. Starting with public forum. Oh, Linda, would you like to introduce yourself?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Okay, I am Linda Risby. I'm a Ward 8 resident.
Thank you for joining. All right,
Yeah,
public comment. Hannah.
Hi, everyone. I am the executive director of the Vermont Bar Foundation. We're the only foundation in the state dedicated exclusively to expanding access to justice and providing pro bono legal representation. And I wanted to make an announcement that on July 31st, we have a grant deadline. It's the Richard Cassidy Special Grant Program, and it's dedicated exclusively to organizations which offer wraparound services and mutual aid. So if you know a nonprofit or a group that is in need of funding, they can apply for up to $5,000. You can go onto our website. It's just the vermontbarfoundation.org. It's a very easy application, and we have $100,000 allocated to give out. So encourage organizations to apply. It's very, very, very broad. And so I hope to see applications come in.
Thank you. Comments from the public? Good.
Have you seen any applications? And what's the field looking like now?
I would say that I have received 10 applications. I intend on funding probably 9 of them so far. One of them just isn't going to fit what we do. There's not going to qualify, and so that's the only reason why they won't receive funding. So there's plenty of money left in the pool. It's been a wide range. We're a statewide organization, and so it's folks providing wraparound services in Rutland, but then also their community partners in Burlington, which we're really excited to continue working with. And so it's pride centers, it's folks that are supplying housing, paid leave coalitions. We had a small library in southern Vermont that applied. So we're excited to continue working with them. So it's very, very broad. It's really like a community involvement based grant, and anyone that obviously when you are like dealing with a civil lawsuit, there's a lot of work and support that you need outside of the courtroom and outside of your attorney. And so we're wanting to fund spaces that, you know, if you're going to your library to use a laptop to research something, I think that that counts as, you know, kind of buying into the justice ecosystem. So very, very broad. Yeah.
And just one other thing, the amount of grant, do you have a set amount, or do you apply it based on need?
So this specific grant program, it's named after Richard Cassidy, who was a longtime board member. He also did work for the city, and we have allocated $100,000 towards this. And then the foundation, we also have what I deem as our traditional grant cycle, which is in the middle of the year. And last year we gave out close to $2 million, and that funds more direct legal services. So think Vermont Law School, Vermont Legal Aid, Hope Works, Steps to End Domestic Violence. And so this is kind of building on the work that we've been doing.
I see. And so individual grants, so is there a cap on how much you can apply for?
This specific grant program, you can apply for up to $5,000. The general grant program, folks apply for $1 million. You know, it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Great, thanks.
Krista?
I have a whole bunch of things. We won't have time for them all tonight, but my things are always related to quality of life. So I find myself looking for housing right now, and there isn't a single room or apartment that I can afford on what I earn. Some of it I'm not surprised because I've done helping work on and off for a long time. But I just bring it up because there's a lot of kudos about all the new and good things that are happening. But in a lot of ways, it just mirrors what's happened elsewhere. Like it's new for us and it's bringing good things and it's helping our tax dollars. But if the people who live here can't afford it, we're still missing an important piece. So I just wanted to bring that up. I've been surprised that regardless of the quality of space, there's places now that everybody just seems to be charging the same price because that's suddenly the going rate for something. So it's kind of surprising because some of the places have been very poor condition. I saw a place that was being held together, like literally with, I don't know what that's called, that like silver electrical tape was holding up the walls in the bathroom. And then I've seen other places that are beautiful, but they're just completely out of my price range. So I continue to speak for those people as well as myself. These large buildings that have a lot of people in them and low-income people, there's wonderful things about those programs, but it's hard if you don't want to live with 100 people. And it's also hard if you, like I'm a quieter individual, so a space like that doesn't suit me as well as if there's a single room somewhere or different kind of housing. So I just keep bringing that up because I know that those are in the thoughts and works and plans of things. But I think there's lots of folks where we're still leaving out. And I mentioned at another meeting, if all the people who were actually income eligible applied for help from Burlington Housing and that kind of support, the wait lists right now are already quite long. It would easily more than double. So that's another problem because a lot of people that don't do that work don't understand what the timelines and the backlogs are. Anyways, I also wanted to talk, and this can be discussion at a different meeting. Recently, they've been talking, I'm sorry, I don't know the names of the pieces and all of the structure of it, but it's also related to all of the building where they've been talking about some changes that the governor has made. Act 250 and another piece of that. And I would like to get more information, although I feel like it's coming after everything's already happened. But one of the meetings with the previous mayor that I went to, he mentioned wanting to make this change that's occurring and having this shifted. And in that conversation, his motivation for doing that was that he didn't like that residents were able to hold up the building of the city place building, that they had a mechanism that could allow them to hold that up. So, I could see his point of view and I agree with him in certain ways. But then the difference is as a tenant, I feel differently if there's only one avenue for me to give my voice about structure that's being built in the space I live, and that's now been taken away. I don't view that as progress. And my concern is that it was just coincidence that I happened to be at that meeting. I had a vacation day that I chose to go hear the mayor talk. And no one else since that time or now has ever mentioned that impact on the tenant. I don't always think it's purposeful. I think some people just don't even think about it that way. And I don't know which piece of it has to do with that. And the other piece that was interesting in the last city council meeting when they were discussing it is one part of the legislation was designed to guarantee that the environmental pieces had to be there and that no one could shift them. So it was kind of like saying, this is the baseline of what we require, and hopefully people will add more. And they were talking about that shift also as being positive because people could now add more if they wanted to. So it was talking about the same thing, just in a different way. And the challenge is, though, that no one has ever added more. So that's my other concern about the loss, is that there has never been a building project that has added more. So I wish I knew the names of all of those pieces. So if I'm calling it the wrong thing, please let me know. And I have great respect because I can really understand the viewpoints of all the parties involved. But what my hope is, I was at a meeting where someone once said, we need entirely different people at the table. And I never think that because there's so many important voices and different perspectives. But in this particular instance, I feel like maybe we do. We need like people who can think so outside the box that's ever existed anywhere on the planet before. Okay, so every time I come, I talk too much. And then my other thing was just about noise ordinance. I've said this a lot. I would just love if there's sort of this thing that gets said a lot of you have to expect X, Y, and Z because it's a city, and you have to absorb X, Y, and Z because you've chose to live in a city. But poor behavior is poor behavior, regardless of if you're in a city or a country or wherever. And if you didn't grow up with manners where people told you things like lower your voice in public, hold the door for someone who's older than you, move out of the way for someone in a wheelchair, then you need people to help you learn those things. So I often see people that do behaviors that aren't safe. And I think about that differently now. I fractured my shoulder 2 times. And the second injury, if someone had bumped my arm or even just moved my arm down like this, could have pulled the bone completely out of place and caused a surgery. So it sounds like I'm nitpicky where I'm not. I'm just trying to through that lens, as we think about more residents, more tourists, more whoever, we want freedom. We don't want to over police. Nobody wants a list of rules of having to act a certain way. And I'm not suggesting that. But as I've said multiple times at many meetings, I would like us culturally to make some choices of, here in Burlington, here's what we culturally think is cool and uncool. Culturally, we don't think it's cool to have a city councilor at the bar and get slammed in the back of the head. And everyone who's around that is going to support that notion. So that's the kind of stuff that I mean. And I just think it helps the community as a whole. And I'll give an example of the noise ordinance. It's not someone in my neighborhood, but one of the days that was very hot, I went to just get some water on my way to volunteer work. And the young man that was working at this particular restaurant was very upset. He and 8 friends were hanging out. It was like 12:30 in the morning. The police came and they had to pay a fine. And he was furious. He felt it was unjust because it wasn't a party. There wasn't a large group. There wasn't a keg. They were sitting on someone's home porch drinking. But it was 12:30 in the morning and they had been out there for hours. And I don't think that people realize, as other noise comes down, it makes it easier. I know where I live, even when my windows are closed, 24 hours a day, I can hear people and music and something. So it was really interesting that he really felt it was cruel and unjust and that they should just be able to hang out. So that's an example of what I mean about, I don't really want to police people and shake my finger at it, but I would love ways to just help people understand what's best for all of us, including the businesses. I would love it if there was even though it was really hard, that meeting about that was at City Hall about all the traffic and everything. As a tenant, I never have access to any of the business owners and things like that. So I think it would be interesting to have times where there's dialogue about that. So that's everything.
Thank you. We're moving on to city councilor updates. Just in time.
Apologies that I was late. I was upstairs at the Public Safety Committee meeting talking about North Beach and some stuff there. So sorry that I was late. Do you want to start? Give a update?
Go ahead.
Okay. Is there anything you were hoping to speak to?
As long as one of us says it.
Okay. All right. I can start. I am Allie Schachter, the East District City Councilor. And we've had probably only one meeting since we've been about every 3 weeks in the summer. So we've probably had one meeting since we last had a Ward 8 NPA meeting. A couple things that happened in the last meeting. The first is that we officially tasked the Charter Committee with working on putting the REIB office officially into the city charter. So they're working on language. That'll come back to council for our approval. Then I believe because it's a charter change, it goes to the Burlington voters and then to Montpelier. So we're starting that process. And I think we all anticipate it'll be a bit of a process, but that's underway. We also, the Community Justice Center and the City Attorney's Office proposed a new program called City Circle, using principles of restorative justice practices to work with folks who violate city ordinances in a sort of new and innovative. It would be a pilot program to address some of the backlog in the court system that we experience and some of the ways in which our current system is not as effective as it could be. And so that felt exciting. That's been now the ordinance committee is taking that up and seeking additional input from the community, from the ACLU and other entities to really refine what that might look like. I imagine you might want to mention the recycling. I can leave you.
Yeah, sure.
I
hop in.
Yeah, I feel like the recycling stuff and the water affordability program was on my mind.
Yeah,
I bet.
Oh, also on my mind. Hi, once again, Merrick Broderick, Ward 8 City Councilor. So yeah, the two most important things, besides what Allie said, from the last city council meeting that I wanted to talk about here. Firstly is enhancements that are coming to our water department's affordability program. So for those who don't know, the current 1.0 version of the water affordability program, it allows for bill discounts for low-income customers, seniors who can demonstrate that they would experience economic hardship without receiving a discount, and nonprofit housing organizations like CHT, for example. So that program, as it stands currently, only has enrolled 42 low-income users, 26 seniors, and no nonprofit housing organizations. So I think the enhancements, the most significant enhancement that I think can, and I hope will, do a lot of good for low-income folks is the creation of what's called indirect customer assistance. So by partnering with the Burlington Electric Department, Water Resources can do an offset for the impact of increasing water rates for qualified low-income customers by giving you, instead of a discount on your water bill, a discount on your electric bill. Why is that important? Because if you are a renter, most of the time, I would say, I've only experienced this model. So I would think a lot of renters your water bill is included with your rent, whereas you directly pay your electricity bill. Usually that's because water is for your entire building. So it is harder to sort of divvy it up. So because of that, it's hard for the water department to give someone who's in a large building, a low-income tenant, that discount because it's your landlord is charging it to your rent. So by doing this offset, instead of your water rate going down, your electric bill will go down, which is what you are directly paying for standalone, as opposed to your water bill, which is included in your rent. So I think that has the ability to increase the net that we can cast on these utility affordability programs. And if you want to see what this looks like in practice, this is inspired by the city of Seattle. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about was we received an update from the Department of Public Works on recycling. So the context being, it's been like a month, right, since the resolution? A couple months?
Yeah.
Yeah, so a couple months ago, we passed a resolution on the future of our municipal recycling service. And two of the things that motion called for was the Department of Public Works to put out a request for price quote on a private contract for our recycling service. And through deliberations, that RFPQ would be not for residents directly negotiating with a recycling company like you do for trash, but one hauler that is funded in the same mechanism that our municipal recycling is, which is your solid waste generation tax. So received an update on that they were putting that RFPQ out, and that by in August the bids will come back, and we will be voting on whether or not to accept an RFP, one of those options, in September. So one of the things that I was working on in regards to that, even though I don't personally believe that we should be privatizing our recycling service, one of the things I had been working on with other city councilors is ensuring that we are not just putting out a 5-year bid, which was the original intention of DPW when we first got the memo before the meeting. So we ended up getting DPW to put out requests for 3-year bids, 4-year bids, or 5-year bids, because the original motion called for them to put out 3 to 5-year bids, which does leave some ambiguity as to what they had the authority to ask. They determined that they were only going to do 5 years. I personally believe that we should be putting out bids for all of those timeframes. Because I would prefer a 3-year bid, and then if we would need to renew the contract, then we do that. But the shortest time possible would allow us to actually make a concerted effort at working towards the long-term goal of this whole process, which is a fully consolidated solid waste management system. And then the other part of this was getting report back on the assessment and essentially the quote on how much it would cost to continue keeping recycling in-house. That will also come to us in September as supplementary information to help us with determining whether or not we want to keep recycling in the city or not. And all that we really got from that, and if you had something else on that, please say, Allie, is that the city for this year had already budgeted for keeping recycling in the city. So it would be in terms of the ongoing costs, it is expected that it would be around that. In the city budget, there's a lot of one-time things in our recycling budget, in our streets budget, there's one-time stuff. So if you take out the one-time stuff, we're probably going to get something around what those ongoing costs would be. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but yeah, that's what I have. Thank you.
Yes.
This is one area where I know on my side, as I said, of doing helping work and helping with housing, I don't know anything about the recycling in terms of the landlord. So you guys have been so good about telling us and thinking about how it will impact the tenant. But I'm curious, is there anything on either side that will impact the landlord, or does it stay similar for them and it's just a matter of perhaps when things get picked up that changes?
So with our current recycling system, a lot of buildings, especially the larger buildings, and I think with some commercial buildings as well, don't even are opted out because of like logistics. So, well, I think that if we do keep it in the city, I would want to expand it so that we can cover our entire city. There's a lot of other stuff that goes into that. But they do still pay into the pot through the solid waste generation tax.
Yeah, I think like I feel like for there will still be municipally provided recycling for those who opt in, and whether or not that will meaningfully change things. I guess it depends on sort of where we land, if we keep doing it in-house, if we contract with a private hauler, what their capabilities are, if logistically it works. Like landlords may still choose to opt in or opt out, but the city, I feel like back when we were in the budget conversation, a lot of people were understandably very concerned that we were talking about, and there was, I think, initially a conversation about eliminating recycling services in the way that we don't offer municipal trash services. We are now very much past that part of the conversation. So we're not talking about doing away with the municipal hauling. So if landlords who don't currently opt in choose to opt in, they're welcome to do so. But we're still just looking at sort of municipally providing recycling. It's just a question of if we employ the employees and have the equipment, or if we are working with a private hauler to do that and we're contracting with them. And that's sort of what we're trying to figure out through this RFPQ process, and then doing we have a sense of what it costs us to run it, but we're comparing what that would look like and the pros and cons of potentially contracting privately. But the experience for most residents will be unchanged, really, other than maybe a different bin and a different day. But there'll still be like municipally provided recycling that landlords could or could not opt into. It's a good flag, though, of, something to ask as we're getting RFPQs back, if there's like, ways that we could logistically streamline the experience so that more folks can take advantage of our recycling services. So thanks for flagging that.
Yeah, just adding on to that, I think one of the important things would be, if we're going to accept a bid from a private hauler, is to be the ability to ensure that service is the same. I don't know how we do that, what supplementary regulations would have to go into effect in order to try to hold a hauler accountable. I certainly would be wary of contracting out to a private hauler, and then I would hate for the quality of service to suffer. Like folks in Burlington, they love our recycling service, so I would hate for by contracting out for that quality to diminish. So if the council does decide to go that route in September, there would need to be a lot of talk about how we're going to ensure that quality is the same.
Running a little over the agenda, so are we good on council updates? Sweet. All right, moving on to the presentation.
All right, I don't know if you pulled up the same old thing.
And thank you.
The month before and the month before.
Thank you for your patience in presenting this. I appreciate your flexibility with the scheduling.
How you all doing? My name is Carter Newbeezer. I'm the city councilor for Ward 1. So thanks for letting us drop in. Thank you. And this is my cohort here.
I'm Jonathan Chapel Sokol, Ward 1 again.
So we have been working on a resolution that originated in the NPAs. I don't know if it ever came to the Ward 8 NPA.
It almost did.
It almost
was close. We did a.
All right.
I did a very.
We're doing our best there.
No, I just want to make sure. Well, yeah, so we've been working on this resolution. So over the next 20-30 minutes, I think we have 20 minutes. We want to run through sort of why and what it is, why we're here today, what we're hoping you all will do in terms of giving a thumbs up of approval of this, and then some of the next steps that we'll go through at the council level. So at a very basic level, this is a move to articulate and formalize the relationship between NPAs and city government. So both council, mayor's office, and then city bureaucracy, because we want to make sure that there are clear and realistic expectations between all those stakeholders. In the past, there's been, I know at least I'll speak for Ward 1 because I was on the NPA for a couple of years before running for council, the steering committee, and we had a number of instances where we thought we should be hearing from the city on X or Y issue or XYZ issue, or we felt like a decision was being made that was sort of impacting Ward 1 in particular, maybe more so than other parts of the city, like the MOU with the hospital is like near and dear to Ward 1 because it's right, smack dab in the ward. And so we want to make sure that there's an opportunity for our voices to be heard. We feel like that opportunity wasn't there. And sometimes I think that's just a capacity and communication issue. I'm here too. So I think we can go to the next slide. And I haven't done this in a while, so I don't remember exactly what slides correlate with my notes. So you'll have to bear with me here. So just very briefly, history and characteristics of the NPA. This is a lot of the whereas clauses, but when we were looking into what's on the books already defining this relationship, there's actually very little written down. There's a lot of sort of practices and norms that have developed over time, slightly different in different NPAs. So we also realized that there's a pretty broad mission for the NPAs. Originally, they were created way back in the day in the 80s. There's a bunch of private companies who were controlling the waterfront. Then Senator Sanders wanted to make the waterfront a public good and not something to make money off. And so that residents could have more recreation and public space that wasn't, you have to go pay money to do something fun with your kids. And so really they were created initially as an organizing vehicle for folks to organize against these companies and to keep the waterfront public. And then there's a couple other subsequent fights, but really since then, not that I don't love our NPA or NPAs in general, but they've sort of lost that advocacy piece, I guess is fair to say. And then I'm passing to Jonathan.
Okay. I think that's Carter's pretty much explained the background. I think from the NPA standpoint, we see that it's kind of a two-way street, and we wanted to make sure we could get down in writing and kind of formalize the relationship. So we made a proposal to the city council, and the city council took it and sent it to the CDNR, which is the Community Development and Neighborhood Revitalization Committee of the city council, who formed a working group that consisted of a city councilor, city administration, and some NPA representatives. And over the course of months, we kind of hacked this thing out. And the whole purpose of it is to try to clarify and define the value of the NPAs to the city and clarify and define the city's expectations from the NPAs. So it's supposed to go both ways. And this is there's a piece of paper in front of you which has the whole thing on it. This starts with the resolution clause, the resolves, that the cities are just go back one. That's good. Perfect. NPAs are essential to the civic health of our community, open, accessible to all city residents, and shall abide by open meeting law. NPA shall adhere to the state and local laws regarding anti-discrimination, free speech, and accessibility, adhere to the provisions of their bylaws, so each NPA has a set of bylaws, and decisions shall be made in a transparent manner. NPA shall expend funds allocated to them by the city council in a manner consistent with the city's terms, conditions, and restrictions. So the city has provided NPAs with money, which I'm sure you know about, those of you. And so there are restrictions and conditions. And NPA shall set the terms and conditions for gatherings and shall determine their agendas and priorities. So NPAs are independent in that regard, and with a goal of making sure there's good conversation between residents and leaders. Sure. Or shall we go through the whole thing and then so what our goal is, we wanted to go through this whole thing and then take questions, and then hopefully at the end take a vote to support. We're hoping a vote of support. You're the seventh ward out of 8 wards that we're speaking with.
Wait, who do we beat?
Ward 2. And that's they were okay. We just couldn't make it.
I'm just glad.
But so far we're 7 out of 7 for wards saying that they think that this is good and it should go back to the city council to approve and make part of the working document for the city. So that's the first part of it. NPA shall okay, we got that and that. So second one is that still me?
No, it's you.
So this is for CETO, and this is kind of interesting because there's at least some conversation around the budget that NPA administration would go from CETO to the Department of Financial Administration. Thank you, Department of Financial Administration. And this is moving from CETO to DFA is exactly the sort of thing that we think should come to the NPAs to have a conversation. Not that the NPAs are going to reject this, but that the NPA should be aware of it before it happens. So CETO is I believe in charter, the guiding group, the support group for NPA. CETO will develop standardized process for in collaboration with NPAs by which each NPA can communicate a list of annual priorities to the city council and city administration. The point of that is if there's something that you care a lot about, that really matters, you want to make sure that when those issues come up to city council or city administration, the NPA is included in the conversation. Again, NPAs have no authority. All they are is groups of residents. They're people who live here. It's the community, but our authority is only through electing officials. But at least it's a way to have the conversation, make sure that our leaders understand what folks want. Consult with other relevant city staff to develop easily understood materials that outline the legal requirements of NPA. So this is clarifying open meeting law and how we're supposed to go do our business. Consult with other relevant city staff to review and update these materials as needed, but at least every 3 years, just so that they're current and everybody remembers that this is stuff we're supposed to do. Everybody remembers, not just the NPAs, but the city as well. Collaborate with NPAs and other relevant city staff to ensure NPAs understand the legal requirements of the NPAs and include a representative chosen by the NPAs to serve on hiring committees for staff roles predominantly focused on supporting and liaising with the NPAs. And I'm not sure whether there's any work that's gone on so far this summer about that. You're still here. So you don't have to say anything. Next chart. This may be you.
So yeah, these final two, this one is sort of what the city council acknowledges, and hopefully through the vote, through a vote at the council floor, city councilors will acknowledge these sort of core principles as they relate to the NPAs, understanding the important role that they play in our deliberative process, recognizing this is while imperfect, a space for residents to give feedback directly to elected officials and actually hear from folks in their neighborhoods, and then Oh, and then that we, encourage counselors to attend their respective NPA in their ward or district. We can't, some city councilors have given me feedback that, we can't force elected officials to do anything, and that's true. We can't, that this is more of a statement of principle, and that's why it's, encouraged, because we can't force anybody to go anywhere. And then if we go to the next slide. Yeah, city council shall endeavor in good faith. So as Jonathan was saying, this first bullet point, issues that impact NPA governance and structure. If we are going to change where the NPAs are housed or anything else, and without getting into a bunch of different stuff, there's been changes made sort of structurally, requirements on bylaws, a whole number of other things over the years where the NPA learns about it after it's done. And there hasn't been sort of a back and forth process of input and like collaboration, and that's what it should be. It shouldn't be the city bureaucracy coming from on high and saying NPAs, you must do this. But it's also in the opposite direction. We have to have realistic expectations of city staff as well. Issues that disproportionately impact a particular area of the city. So like I was saying with the UVMMC MOU example, I think that's a citywide issue, period. But Ward 1 in particular, if we feel like we ought to be consulted, given that the hospital sits in our ward, as an example, or as maybe a more granular or more sort of on the hit the nail on the head. Szymanska Park, if they were going to come in and tear down Szymanska Park tomorrow, Ward 1 in particular wants to know, and maybe Ward 7 doesn't care as much about Szymanska Park because it's not directly in their neighborhood, although I'm sure there's many folks who enjoy the park as well over there. So we want to make sure that we sort of use some common sense to think through that, or that city staff and the council are thinking through that. Matters identified by the NPAs as priorities for the current fiscal year, that goes back to one of the bullets in CETO, where the NPAs and CETO are working together to create some sort of standardized process. The thinking behind this is not that it's going to be a laundry list or restrictive, meaning like maybe it's 3 to 5 things that you're like, hey, as the Ward 8 NPA, we really, really, really want to make sure that you make a best effort to come talk to us about this if something comes up in city government. City staff can't be looking out for everything at all times realistically and bringing every single granular issue to every NPA. But we can triage, I think, a little bit better and have a little bit better open lines of communication about what is important to different parts of the city. Development projects that require major impact review, this is already the case. There was like this is sort of tightening up a small loophole where in Ward 1, at least, we had a developer. Technically, it's always been you have to go to the NPAs if there's a major impact review development. But technically, it's just a public meeting. So we had somebody who was building something who just put like a bunch of 8.5 by 11s on telephone poles and said, I'm holding a neighborhood meeting. And nobody knew what it was because they were putting it on. And then nobody attended. And so they technically, by the letter of the law, got around going to the NPA, which I think is just a little weird and bad faith. Redistricting and changes to ward boundaries and charter changes and ballot questions. Both of those things already happen in some manner already. But I think it's, again, sort of setting the expectation that that norm that has sort of come about over the years informally is an expectation. Voters should hear about items on the ballot from city government if we are all voting to put those items on the ballot. And so either the city council, bureaucracy in the mayor's office, or some combination ought to make sure that we're informing folks about that and talking through those. And then in particular, the redistricting changes to ward boundaries and polling places. There's a process by which the NPAs already give feedback. Last time we did that, I don't think that the NPA's feedback ended up in the final decision around wards and boundaries and polling places. But that is sort of like a foundational piece to our democracy. So we ought to make sure that people are involved in that, is the thinking there. So I will stop ranting with that. And I think we want to answer questions.
Can I just, do I have a minute to rant about the ward boundaries for a second?
Absolutely.
Just very quickly. So what happened last time was a committee was formed with representatives from all the NPAs. And it was a city committee, it was a city advisory committee. And the conclusions and the recommendations of this committee they were roundly ignored when it came to city council. And so that's not necessarily the best way for the public to be heard. What might be a better way is to have the conversation at the NPAs and then have each NPA or all the NPAs together come and talk to city council. Rather than the standard structure is that the city goes and creates these ad hoc committees. But the ad hoc committees really, very often ad hoc committees write reports that are just put in a drawer. So this is saying that it's come to the NPA rather than have the NPA go somewhere. I think, and that's part of the spirit of what we're trying to do. Now,
How do we identify the issues at a moment at a given time, such as redistricting? I mean, how do we know at the community level what's going on and what we need to respond to through the NPA structure?
Do you mean just to clarify, do you mean like the 5 priorities thing with CETO, or you just mean in general, like?
Just in general,
Yeah.
like if some really issue of critical importance comes up, how our counselors bring that to us and say, look, I think you should be paying attention to this. This is what's happening. And we convene a kind of discussion among the NPAs and
Well,
the process work.
I think that's part of if I'm understanding your question right, I think that's part of the problem, right? Because we expect counselors to be one conduit between NPAs and sort of what's happening in the city. Gonna fly there. And we pay counselors $5,000 a year, and almost all of us I think everybody has to work full time or take a huge financial hit to do the job well, etc. So even the best intentioned counselor is not gonna hit everything that maybe they should be hitting, because it's just sort of a impossible task. The other piece, and the same thing with city, I mean, the bureaucracy is almost the opposite problem, which is they have 20,000 things on their plate, and without much input sort of from outside their office, they are sort of in the roadheads guessing what people actually want to hear about and what they want to have input on and what they, don't need to get input on. So, and oftentimes, then we get into situations where people are like, why the heck didn't you come talk to us and ask us? So that's my hope, is that the way I'm envisioning it is that each NPA would have some sort of annual conversation. And CETO would help facilitate, like, how do you have a group decision-making process and consensus, something like that, some sort of training on how to do that, and resources to support that. And then you all can have a discussion about, hey, I care about this issue, this issue, etc. And yeah.
That's great.
And another piece of it is, and this is, Ward 1 is long established, and there's a lot of old fogies there who are like policy nerds. So in Ward 1, it's a lot of these issues come from the residents. They come from folks in the room. And folks in the room will say, this is going on at the planning commission, we should talk about it. So there's personal accountability in a sense, it's incumbent upon residents and folks who come to NPA meetings to bring some of these issues forward. Well, that's the other side.
My question was about the money. One, what we can choose to spend it on, and then also two, for folks like Ryan and yourself when you come to speak, and the council and this lovely woman and Charlie, are folks paid for their time? And if they're not, is that something that we're able to decide to do? So it's kind of two pieces, because I feel like this is a tremendous responsibility to have. And even though, like you're saying, some folks are policy nerds and they're into it, I still also think it's important to be respectful of people's time and being paid appropriately. So I'm just curious. I don't understand the requirements I'm new to that piece of how that money can be used.
Well, it's primarily to be used for the purposes of holding meetings and outreach, telling people about meetings, telling people what the NPAs do. That's really what the money is supposed to be spent on. So you could have food, right? You can have childcare. You can offer childcare. You could offer translation services. You can have lawn signs out. You could put an ad in the Free Press if you wanted, if the Free Press still is being published.
7 days.
You could put an ad in 7 days. So that's what the money is really supposed to be used. It's for making NPAs easier to connect with the community.
So all of these folks are unpaid.
The steering committees are all unpaid. You folks are paid. Pardon?
No, not by the NPA, yeah.
Right, not by the NPA, by CETO, essentially by the city. And city, you know, it would be great to have a group of people to get together, a group of NPA folks get together and figure out how we can get real salaries for city councilors. I think that'd be a wonderful project for NPAs. Because this, you know, this just goes on and it's not working well.
Thank you. Sorry to be daft. I just wanted to be sure that I understood.
Oh, you want to have a vote?
Or let me read it. I'm gonna read it. Right, well,
Dozen Ward 8 residents in the room.
You have a quorum as defined by however you define a quorum.
I think we do.
Yeah, sure. You want to make a motion?
I make a motion to vote on the
Accept it or yeah, in support of the
in
resolution.
support of the resolution.
All right, I'll second. All those Ward 8 residents in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, congrats.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Cool. So we have.
No. Next agenda, final agenda item, presentation by Partizanfilm. Is it partisan or partisan?
Whichever one you like. There are a lot of pronunciations. Yeah,
Partisan.
I say partisan, but you know, it could be partisan.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us here. I'm Michelle Segalchik, one of the board members of Partizanfilm. I also teach high school here in Burlington.
Hi, and I'm Brett. I'm also one of the founding board members of Partizanfilm, which is the new movie theater that is
Here in Ward 8.
right here in Ward 8 and currently under construction on College Street at 230 College Street, across the street from the library. And we're planning to open in the fall, targeting November 1st, around there. We'll see how it goes. Things are going well so far with our renovation of the space, which is in one of the two commercial units on the ground floor of 230 College Street next to iCare of Vermont. And yeah, we just wanted to kind of introduce ourselves because we're starting a business here in Ward 8 and talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, and it's a community-minded project. I think we're really looking to have on a number of levels community input, and so I think starting here in Ward 8 is just to make sure it's on the radar of residents here and talk about different ways people can get involved.
Yeah, it is legally incorporated as a nonprofit, but it is governed as a cooperative. So the bylaws are very similar to the ones that City Market uses. So if you become a member of Partizanfilm, then you control Partizanfilm. The board will be elected by the members. We'll have annual membership meetings. And there'll be lots of opportunities for input and involvement.
Yeah.
Did you have a question?
No, not
Oh,
just
thank you.
excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think maybe we could speak a little bit about the kind of logic behind the project and how we came to it, and then maybe if people have questions or ideas or things like that. So there's 5 of us that are in the founding board. It really kind of started as rumblings in the community about what happens when the Roxy closes, what's going to happen if you don't have a movie theater here in Burlington that is operating full time. We're VTIF members. We love going to see movies, but it's not the same as having a, just pop in at any moment 7 days a week. And I said this actually, it kind of is in my mind now because I said it when we were talking to CCTV the other day, but we moved to Burlington by choice, and we had very few criteria sort of on our lists. I don't drive, so a school that is in town in some capacity was important. And the other two things, like being kind of accessible to the mountains, being within driving distance of the mountains, and having a movie theater in town. Those are kind of our so as we hear that the Roxy might close, we're like, this can't happen. What's the alternative going to be? And we started trying to figure out who is going to pick up that burden. Is somebody going to, we heard that the Roxy, you might not be able to buy and operate as a movie theater, that there is likely going to be a deed restriction written into the property, which I think ended up happening. And so who's going to pick up that momentum? And when it seemed like there wasn't a path forward, we sort of started panicking about how we were going to try to create that fill that void. And the response so far, just from people who have heard about us online, has been overwhelming. People are really feel that same void and really want to participate in the project, not just to go to see movies, but really to participate in building a space where people can go talk about movies, have a cup of coffee, and have movies brought, curated kind of for a local community.
Could you talk about the curation process of it?
Yeah.
Well, we will be operating as a first run art house movie theater. So we'll be getting new releases from independent distributors, probably distributors like A24, Sony Pictures Classics, Janus Films, Neon, distributors like that. So movies that occasionally might be, big enough to win an Oscar, but some much smaller than that, and not never like a Marvel movie or a Star Wars. We wouldn't be able to get that if we wanted to, because our auditoriums are going to be quite small, similar to the downstairs screening room at the at VTIFF, if you guys have been there.
One theater, 31 seats, the other 19 seats. So
yes.
Really small.
Yeah, but in addition to first run programming, we'll also have repertory programming and meaning old movies. And we're still kind of working on that, trying to figure out, well, what are people interested in seeing? And so, we encourage people to reach out and talk to us about what kinds of movies you're excited about seeing, and what movies you want to see.
And partnering with local programs, right? So potentially doing events in the city that are tied to a particular theme, that when people come to Burlington to talk about some local project or their own film or something like that, but having it be connected to other citywide initiatives.
Yeah, it'll be different from the Roxy. But we think, we're hoping that we can turn the smallness of our space to our advantage and create a cozier kind of more intimate experience for moviegoers. The lobby will also be a small cafe and bookstore. There'll be seating. It'll be a place where we hope people will want to hang out and have a coffee before the movie and stay afterward and have a beer and talk about the movie with their friend, at Partizanfilm rather than going to some other bar. So that's the kind of atmosphere we want to cultivate.
We love Burlington, and I think that there's this hope that people buy back into the narrative of that Burlington downtown is a place where people want to be, and that and that not getting scared away by some of the other narratives circulating around, and to really be able to have a space where people go, and it's across from the library. It's in this kind of cornerstone of the center of downtown, and so kind of keeping that alive with a place for people to come together and talk about art, culture, the world, etc.
Yeah. I think, to us, I love going to the movies. I didn't want to, like Michelle said, I didn't want to live in a place that doesn't have a movie theater, but also I think that movie theaters are important for cities. It is important to have cultural offerings that enliven the the social and political life of a city, the intellectual life of the city, in addition to just having, we hope we'll do that in addition to just being a nice place to like go on a date or see something entertaining. So yeah, yeah, we think we hope people will like it. We're happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
No, this is just, it's so dope. Thank you.
Oh,
It's really exciting. The Roxy closing was really depressing, and I agree. It was like one movie theater in town, and I was really excited when I saw it online. Is there any way if I heard you right, November's the Mike, I'm sorry, Charlie. I was saying this is a great thing. What was it? Oh, so opening in November, is there anything that folks can do in the meantime to be helpful to the effort?
Thank you for
Yes, thank
thank
you.
you for asking that. That probably should have been part of the presentation. If we were professionals, we'd have covered that already. Yeah, I mean, some people in this room have already become members of Partizanfilm. So that is very helpful. Membership costs $60. It lasts a year, starting at the date of our opening. But if you're able to join now, we are undertaking a very expensive renovation project, and the number of members, we have about 200 members, 200 paid members so far, and the membership sales have actually given us a little bit of breathing room on that. And ultimately the membership will be the way that you will be involved if you want to be involved in this project. We'll have a member work program where you can earn free movie tickets and all sorts of things. So yeah, but if you're willing to join now, that would be great. And we also do accept donations. It's going to be it's not like a DIY thing we're doing. It's like going to be a real movie theater. We've got like expensive people working on it. Our architect and contractor worked together on a lot of the restaurants in town. They did the Farmhouse Tap and Grill and Skinny Pancake and Frankie's. They've done it. Right. Yeah. Well, that might have just been Peter, but yeah, but independently, a lot of stuff too. So it's going to be a nice place, and we're not worried about money, but it would be nice to yeah, it'd be nice if people wanted to join.
You have
yeah.
another source besides membership, besides donations.
Yeah, it's loans are our funding source. So yeah, so anything else?
Yeah, so we'll be applying for grants. We'll see. It's not the most favorable time of, politically for arts grants, but it takes time for the IRS to acknowledge the tax exempt status. And so that'll, there'll be, a kind of gap in the period of where we can apply for those grants. And I just want to say also that a lot of people signed up, not just as members, but also on the volunteer list. And that will be it's a big deal already. Like people have been kind of partnered with what their skills and are capable of, and with what some of the projects are. And because there is a lot of work to turn. It used to be people that had been in that space before. It used to be the restock shop, and before then a yoga studio, and getting the kind of the equipment, but also the sound installation. All of that it's a huge project. So yeah, volunteering, membership, and donations. Yeah.
How did you decide, like, where does the name?
It's a good question.
Oh yeah. Should I answer? You wanna, well, it's really it's funny. I keep answering it, even though it's really it comes from Michelle's. Well, it's sort of a tribute to Michelle's family. Michelle and I are married, by the way. Her Partizanfilm was the nickname for the state-owned film production company in Soviet Belarus during the post-World War II era. And when they were making movies primarily about guerrilla fighters resisting the Nazi occupation. Yeah, so Michelle's family's from Belarus. So it's a little bit of a tribute to them. We just like the name. Yeah, any Anything else? Adam?
What do you get if you become a member aside from feeling good about supporting the movie theater?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. You get once we open, you get $2.50 discount on every movie ticket, including matinees. We're going to have movies both during the evening and during the daytime with discounted prices during the daytime, and the member discount will give you an additional discount on those in addition to the evening tickets, and it gives you voting rights. The movie theater belongs to you if you are a member, and so if you want to run for the board of directors, you can. We'll have our first election next year. Jason, I think you have free popcorn on your birthday. Yes, yeah. We'll have all the classic movie theater snacks in addition to, but also beer and wine and coffee and espresso.
We'll be in touch with the liquor licensing committee.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I mean,
So yeah.
Oh, Linda has a question.
Oh yeah. Or maybe not. Maybe is it an errand hand?
It's muted. Oh,
Sorry.
yes, there we go.
So
No, that's good.
sorry. So you're bringing to mind to me like the Bryn Mawr Film Institute. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And I'm just kind of wondering if you imagine yourself growing and having an educational component.
I think that hard to say how things will go, but I think there is we already have a hope that there'll be community partnerships, and it depends sort of what people want for how that plays out. But I don't know if we'll be kind of doing training. I don't know. It's hard to say how things will play out.
Yeah, I mean, one of the great things again about this, I think, cooperative model is that it can become whatever the community wants it to become. I'm not familiar with. What did you say was the Bryn Mawr Institute, like associated with Bryn Mawr College, maybe?
It's no, it's that's the town, but that is
I see.
not. It's a independent. It's run with membership, and it's bigger. And they have, they show first run films, they show old films, they have education, they teach people about film, about how to make films, I think. It's a very film, it's run by people that really love films and wanted everyone to experience films. And I think originally they were a little worried about what was going to happen to films.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to look into it. It sounds really interesting. I mean, I think that we're eager to bring in people for lectures and for Q&As. There's a lot we're still figuring out. This is like a grassroots volunteer driven effort. Everyone involved in this does other things as well. But the more people get involved, the more robust, I think, our offerings can ultimately and will ultimately become.
We've already
I'm very
talked, Brett.
excited. Sorry.
No.
Yeah, go on.
Just very excited to see you doing this, and I can't wait to send in my membership fee.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say that Brett met also with the instructor at the technical center of film and media studies, and I think that there is a similar concern there about like how do young people engage with film in an era where you have a screen with you at all times, and how are you learning about kind of film and society. So yeah, I think we're really looking forward to connecting in all the ways that are possible.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
With that, I think we're adjourned until our next meeting on August 28th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is